Jersey Electricity has been investing in island infrastructure to keep pace with the ever-increasing demand for electricity for almost 100 years. Now we're answering calls for on-island renewable power to contribute to Jersey's energy mix and increase energy sovereignty by forming local partnerships to make local renewables more affordable. Our vision is to inspire a zero-carbon future. We fully support Jersey's ambition to cut emissions to net zero by 2050, and we know we have a critical role to play. But we also know we need to push on with new opportunities now. Recent world events have highlighted how rapidly threats to energy supplies can escalate, and with it, volatility of wholesale energy prices. Although we are very confident in our energy supplies and have excellent relationships with our French partners, last year's post-Brexit French fishing licences dispute and subsequent threats to our own imported supplies brought renewed calls for Jersey to have more energy independence by generating its own renewable power, either by tidal, wind or solar. Even though we've virtually completely decarbonised the island's electricity supply, we've been exploring the potential for renewable generation for many years. And we've designed the grid to be able to accommodate local renewables as and when they are developed. Our conclusion is that if tidal energy or offshore wind were economically viable and acceptable to our customers, they could one day supplement our existing importation arrangements. Viable tidal power is some way off yet, but offshore wind is rapidly reducing in costs and yields are improving. Although it continues to be more expensive than importing electricity from France, commercial rooftop solar PV, however, has so far been the most cost-effective renewable option for Jersey right now, and we're bringing it into the grid in increasing volumes and seeking to drive down its costs. Recent advances in solar panel technology, however, mean that higher energy outputs can be generated using significantly less land than previously required, and this has improved the viability of ground-mounted solar PV. We believe that ground-mounted solar PV can now play an increasing and valuable role as part of Jersey's energy mix and sovereignty, with a series of strategic ground-mounted solar farms based next to carefully selected grid connection points. These are small ground arrays by UK standards, but could bring the total capacity of on-island solar PV up to 10 megawatts within a few years. That equates to around 11 million units a year and enough to power 1,500 Jersey homes. Working with landowners as partners, we've evaluated over 50 potential sites and narrowed those down to an initial 4 which would meet the strict selection criteria. If delivered cost-effectively and in a proportionate way, as we are proposing, local ground-based solar power can strengthen the local economy by encouraging buy local. It can enhance the diversity of our energy supplies and at the same time protect, even enhance the environment. And it's for these reasons we believe this strategy to selectively build out ground-based solar PV can be an important force for good for Jersey. I'd now like to introduce you to our solar expert, Ed Jessamine, who can tell you even more about ground-based solar PV.
In the past, it might not have been considered suitable to develop ground-mounted solar in Jersey because of the amount of land that was required for development, but advances in solar technology means that we can get an awful lot more power from much smaller space now. So it's really become feasible to develop projects in smaller land areas. Determining where we go exactly and why that's an appropriate site is a massive part of our investment in these projects. With our experience of developing projects in the UK over the last 10 years, we've applied that process to our planning decisions in Jersey, selecting sites sensitively and matching up with what we would consider to be the gold standard for development. Working with Jersey Electricity, we've designed a structure for measuring the suitability of a project, a score sheet that looks at the key development factors so that we're being very selective in where we might consider a site appropriate for development. One of the reasons that solar is good now in Jersey is that we're using about 40% less space than we did 3 years ago to develop the same size project, and therefore it makes it much more plausible in smaller landscapes to get a sensibly sized solar array that will really contribute to the energy mix on the island. It's very well proven that the biodiversity gain around solar parks can be significant, and solar parks are regularly ranked to be over 50% gain introduction of hedgerows, the way we manage the sites, the fact that there's a reduction of requirement for fertilisers and pesticides. The grass will sequester carbon, and once the park's in situ, there's very little work required to maintain them. So as a consequence, they're very much left to nature for a long period of time. Levels of agriculture within solar panels can be carried on. I mean, we manage parks at the moment under grazing with sheep very commonly, and we're also looking at ways in which we can combine what we call agrivoltaics, so growing crops under panels. It's at early stages, but in a market garden economy such as Jersey, it could be really beneficial. It could be a really nice combination of taking up land and continuing to do agriculture, and we are exploring things that we can do in that area. So another good reason for developing solar in Jersey is this phenomenal irradiation down here, so the production of energy from the panels will be exceptional. Putting the panels into the ground is a very quick operation. Typically a project would take 10 to 12 weeks to build. We pile straight into the ground, so there's no need for concrete foundations, which means that, of course, when we remove the project, remediation is very, very simple. Once the site's in place, it really is a case of managing the grass, managing the biodiversity features in place, and giving the panels a clean a couple of times a year. And that's as far as the maintenance goes. It's a very, very simple solution for energy generation. Solar's an ever-advancing technology. The improvements in the technology have been significant over the last 10 years. So it is a good time for Jersey to embrace this technology.